A new report shows how severely the Great Recession has devastated minorities in this country, possibly erasing decades of progress made by the middle class. According to the Economic Policy Institute, the recession knocked the average net worth of white households from $134,000 to $97,000. That's a 24% drop. But among black families, the average net worth fell from $13,000 to, get this, just $2,000. That means that black families saw their income plunge 83% from the recession. And joining me now in our Sound Off segment today is MSNBC contributor Melissa Harris-Perry. She's a professor of political science at Tulane, as well as a columnist for The Nation. Melissa, good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in a month of Sundays.
I know. It's been a long time. Good to be here.
Well, it's great to have you back. And I want to get to this because as we look at what these numbers mean, they mean that every dollar a white household has, the average black household has 2 cents. Can we cite those specifics as to why African Americans have been so much harder hit by the recession that we've all been living through?
Sure. Well, part of it is the immediacy of this recession, but I think we're going to have to go back further in time to see where it originates. And it really is an issue here that even as the income gap had been closing between African American and white households, the wealth gap had been consistently growing. So even as we were making more money on the dollar per white household, black households were still having less overall wealth. In other words, their homes were worth less money, their investments were worth less money. And that really has everything to do with policies going all the way back to the New Deal, when African Americans were shut out of some of the very earliest home ownership opportunities.
All right, so let's talk about, since the recession technically ended, the overall unemployment rate has fallen from 9.5 to 9.2%. But as we take a look at these numbers, among African Americans, it's risen from 14.7% to 16.2%. So as the economy improves, Melissa, why aren't African Americans feeling it and feeling it more quickly than they have so far?
Right. I mean, you know, the theory here should be that a rising tide lifts all boats, but it looks like this rising tide is, in fact, leaving some people still drowning. And this, I think, has everything to do with market segmentation. In other words, where people get jobs, what sorts of jobs people are prepared to do. So as the economy comes back, it doesn't replace the same sorts of jobs. It replaces jobs that used to be manual labor jobs, jobs that required relatively less formal education, with those that now require a great deal more education, more technical skill and capacity. And so African Americans, who again have also had lower educational opportunities in addition to less wealth in their households, are left behind in this new job market.
Is the problem that also, while many Americans were hit hard by the recession, I mean, there was a shared burden all around, there still is. However, it's a knockout punch for a lot of black families because they might be living paycheck to paycheck.
Not only living paycheck to paycheck, but also remember that African American middle class families are more intimately tied to African American poor families. So you may be middle class, but your sister, your cousin, even your mom or dad may not be. And remember also, many African American elders did not work jobs that allow them to pay into the Social Security system. So many of those elders don't have the same kind of benefits that that white seniors have. And so that means that a black middle class family is often reaching forward, backward, sideways, all at the same time, and apparently with $2,000, which, as you can imagine, does not go very far.
No, that's a really tight budget right there. I want to point out, though, on another note, unemployment among Hispanics is in double digits as well, Melissa, 11.6. Is this another minority group where progress moving into the middle class could be lost or at least set back by decades because of this recession?
Undoubtedly, and it's also a great danger for our democracy. I think the strength of our democracy is really that belief that each generation, particularly generations of immigrants, can do better than the generation before it. That's where that kind of striving comes from, that willingness to work hard, to sacrifice, to save money, is your belief that the next generation can do better. And if instead of that happening, things are getting worse and worse, you have people willing to opt into, for example, criminal lifestyles, rather than continuing to try to be part of building the American story.